Questions, questions. So a wonderful matchup between very high-quality helmsmen in Burling and Ainsley, New Zealand. With port entry for this, the first race of the day, the pre-start, of course, where all the action happened in the last time these two locked horns. We can check in with Joey Newton, part of Oracle Team USA. He's out on the water for us. Joey, tell us just how wary do you think Burling will be right now? He must have been shaken up by that extraordinary nosedive the other day.
Yeah, Ali, I mean, it's tough to go through something like that and not be affected by it. And, you know, they're all professional guys, they've been doing it for a while, but something like that definitely shakes you up. The biggest thing for me will be, though, is the Kiwi boat still reliable? It spent a lot of time in the water. They worked really hard getting out of the water, did a great job, but will it be able to get around the course without having any hydraulic or electrical problems?
Remember, Ali, it's the electrical problems. That's the thing that sticks with me. The gremlins that can creep into an electrical system that you just don't know about. So it works right now. We've seen this in our house at home. You flick a switch and everything's great, and 5 minutes later something just happens. Just never know. And these boats don't handle at all without all those systems working perfectly.
That is the heart rate that we're looking at there for Sir Ben Ainsley. Something we'll be able to check in on. So here we go then, the continuation of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup Challenger playoff semi-finals, the opening race of the day, New Zealand against Great Britain, Burling against Ainsley. Ken, who's playing safe? Who's going for broke?
Well, Ainsley cannot play it safe and has to be going for broke at this stage. Burling, I think I would like that heart rate any day of the week, never mind in the biggest pre-start of your life. Ainsley needs to win this start. The start is way up here, up at the top of the screen, and Ainsley's kind of racing back for it right now. I don't know if Burling got a little slow. I'm not so sure. Let's listen on board Team New Zealand and see if we've got a problem.
Don't touch the wing. Nearly there. Not on the keep going, keep going. Yep.
Well, something doesn't look right.
Keep going, boys. Drop brake again, Andy.
10 seconds to the start line.
Yeah, they got problems.
Ben Ainsley's already approaching 30 knots, and Burling and the Kiwis are miles behind.
Please start.
Exactly what we talked about in the pre-start is the reliability. Joey Newton called it, the reliability of the systems. These are very complicated boats that, quite frankly, aren't built to be upside down or submerged underwater. I mean, let's just be, let's call a spade a spade. But guess what? They're up and going right now just fine.
They're up on the foils, and they are crossing the start line now, but the British crew are already approaching the first mark, and they are flying at 41 knots. And again, this white knuckle ride starts all over again. The helmsmen have spoken at great length about the need to try to control the boat handling as best they possibly can in these tear-away conditions. It's not quite as extreme as a couple of days ago, but it's still right up there in terms of wind speed.
They look like the boat's working fine right now. We'll have to go back and take a peek and see if we can see on board in that pre-start as to what actually happened. 41 knots around 42, 43 knots around mark number 1. They sure look okay.
So they're around the first mark, and they are heading downwind. This is the pre-start.
Yeah, I know. No, the board's there. Just take it easy. That's just something's happened to the buttons.
I heard something's happened to the buttons. Again, that could be that those electrical gremlins that just, they've been out sailing this morning for sure. This thing got a clean bill of health from the unbelievable effort by the shore team, essentially working 48 hours straight. And yeah, sure enough, a little button problem right off the start, and a big deficit to Ben Ainsley team that needs this race.
Well, more than 450 meters in front. And let's not forget the equation for the British crew. 2 defeats today from 3 races. They're done. Their challenge is over. So this is just about the ideal start.
This is a statement race right now. Ainsley's got a nice little buffer, nice little lead. let's win the race by this amount. Let's not even let them catch. That's what you're thinking when you're on board right now. Let's not even let these guys get closer. Let's make a statement here and start building a little momentum going forward.
Maintaining really good boat speed round the gate, a little dip, but popping straight back up onto the foils, and good stability essentially
25
from
to boundary.
Sir Ben Ainsley's crew.
Want to hit this boundary, please?
You heard Giles Scott say, let's go right to this boundary, please. So they're not only ahead, but they're quite polite today.
It's the British way, Ken. Should know that by now.
I don't know that.
So the Kiwis picking up some speed, but they are looking to chase down the British boat at this point. Leading 3-1 in this first to 5 semi-final series. And Sir Ben Ainsley laying down the gauntlet pretty early on, and we know all of these helmsmen, all of the sailors as a whole, Ken, are incredibly competitive animals, but in a match racing environment, there is nobody more ruthless than Sir Ben Ainsley. His Olympic haul of gold medals testify to that.
He's right up there. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure a couple other teams could make a bid. When I sailed against Russell Coots, he was no slouch on the starting line, I can tell you that. Wind shifts very steady here so far in the upper left-hand corner. Dead on 213 degrees, which is the course access. So really not much to be played right now as far as wind shifts. Kiwis are kind of doing what they did the last couple days. They're settling in line, trying to get boat speed to be their friend.
Let's take this, boys. Standing by. 3, 2, 1.
Really clean tack from the Kiwis, and we've noticed, haven't we, Ken, over the time that we've spent here in Bermuda, the speed with which they throw that bow through the maneuver, and it does provide them with, I guess, quite a lot of margin for error in some regards, in that if anything goes wrong, then it's going to go wrong in a hurry, but they are very precise normally.
Lay line on boundary.
Well, the New Zealanders have cut the deficit here by a fair old margin, and beginning to breathe down British necks, although Sir Ben Ainsley, I think at this point, would feel reasonably comfortable. Off go the glasses.
Yeah, that 200 meters at Bowie's. How's Ed Bowie's doing?
Well, this is just going to give us a really good idea of exactly how hard the grinders are working. There's not much slack there, is there? Look at that. 99% of his max heart rate.
Boy, Giles Scott is really slouching it, isn't he?
And that number, by the way, calculated your max heart rate would be 220 minus your age. That gives you a vague idea. There are one or two anomalies in there because each of these individuals have been tested separately, because they're not your average human being when it comes to fitness.
That's for sure. I walked up.
And a couple of the Kiwis heading up towards the 90% mark. Simon van Veldhoven, an Olympic cyclist from London 2012, won bronze in the London Olympic Games. And he's been putting it in for the Kiwis since he arrived here in Bermuda.
Yeah, we're about 30.
I think of everybody, Ken, he might just have been the most extraordinarily surprised at the events of Tuesday when he found himself upside down and presumably maybe even still cycling underwater.
Yeah, 25 or 30 feet up in the air, tucked away. I mean, you look at that sight right there. It looks like a bunch of guys in their toboggan or bobsled or whatever you call it, the bobsled team, the Kiwi bobsled team.
Yeah, he was one of the ones who managed to cling on
in that cockpit.
In the cockpit.
Yeah, in the cockpit. Imagine that. He sailed his first ever sailboat race 2 weeks ago here in the Olympics. Sorry, in the America's Cup, and coming from an Olympic cycling.
So never sailed before, presumably never needed to abseil before either, which might have been on his mind as he was hanging rather delicately outside of his position.
Kiwis should extend here now. You know, it's kind of natural. The lead gets smaller at the bottom end, and then all of a sudden they take off and start going 40 knots and should be able to spread it out a little bit, but there's no doubt that the Kiwis have gained a little bit.
So that's right, this traditionally the area that we've seen the quickest boat speeds, and look, they are really gaining right now.
Yeah, 400 meters at the bottom end the last time around, only 155 meters. They're not slow.
So good flight time, that's the amount of time, quite obviously, that the hulls are spending out of the water when they're up on their foils, but this is the kind of lead which will depend upon clean, well-executed manoeuvres. One mistake here from the British and the Kiwis will sneak right back in.
Just phenomenal views here today. A jibe in unison, just like we saw attack in unison. Kiwis are starting to chew these guys up a little bit.
How much will Sir Ben Ainslie be worrying about what Burling's up to behind him there? How much has he got an eye on what they're doing, and how much are his manoeuvres dictated by needing to keep them at arm's length?
Well, it looks like they're close to ley line. They're going to have to do one more jibing in, and he won't be actively looking back there. He kind of relies on his tactician to do that for him, but he can feel them breathing down their neck. There's no doubt about that.
The early jibe then from the New Zealanders.
So he's setting up for a split at this bottom gate. So jibe once, jibe twice, and they'll go around different marks coming into the bottom gate. Ainsley should do one and in. Nice smooth rounding.
And finding good speed, the Kiwis as well on the far side of the course. And when they take off in other directions, as the Kiwis will do once they've gone through this gate here, that is a ploy to try to find that extra pressure and steal a march on their rivals.
Especially as the two boats get closer, the boat ahead can affect the boat behind that much more. So that's why the Kiwis are looking for a split down here for sure. Compared to the first time around when they were so far behind, they might as well just kind of round the mark, and there's no way Ben Ainslie's wing wash was going to be effective at that stage.
It's looking slick from the British crew at the moment as they round the gate. And the Kiwis follow them through, and the course is split.
20 seconds. Copy. 35.
Again, a slight discrepancy in boat speed between these two.
Ainsley with a small left-hand shift on that side of the race course, so he should gain a little bit, 210 degrees. That's actually a little bit of a left-hand shift. I think they need all the help they can get right now. These Kiwis are coming on fast.
So the British crew with a slender advantage here, but still a couple of legs to go, and the Kiwis will certainly feel bang in the race at the moment. Let's have a word with Joey Newton, part of the American crew out here in Bermuda. Joey, how do you see this one panning out?
Look, it's Ben's doing a great job of staying in front of a faster boat here. You know, what I see now, he's going up the course and he's just basically decided to sail his own race. Got Giles Scott looking upwind, trying to pick the shifts. I expect him to just stretch out this way a little more, hope to take a gain, because if he just tries to stay in the same bit of water as the Kiwis, they're going to get past him. They're in a faster boat. So I really like what they're trying to do at the moment.
100% agree. That's exactly correct. And it's a tough look for British supporters, because why aren't they covering them? Why aren't they covering them? Because I think if they cover them and they get into a maneuvering contest, they're in trouble, and they can't do this. I was about to say they're sailing as close to a perfect race as we've seen them sail, but they cannot afford those little missteps on the tacks, because look at that. All of a sudden, these guys are almost going to be dipping.
Yeah, that gap is narrow now, around about 80 meters, and a fairly tight cross. They're closing all the time, the Kiwis.
We'll just see how we go. Hopefully a right turn.
And the next time they come together, the Kiwis are on starboard tack and Ainsley's on port tack. So this is getting tight. And you know, I've been there before. All the British supporters are looking in on the top left-hand corner of our screen. How many more legs left? Please stop this race quick.
The finish line is still some way off. One more downwind leg and then the reach to the finish. And again, that swift, speedy, precise maneuvering from Emirates Team New Zealand. Burling scurrying across.
And you see Ashby just reach back with one hand. He's steering for a second. I mean, these guys are cool. All of these teams are so cool under pressure. So this could be the makings of the race. A, does Ainsley make this next mark? And B, does he get across the starboard tack boat, Emirates Team New Zealand?
Tight, tight, tight.
This could be, they're dipping. They are going behind right now, and Burling's heading off to make it even a harder dip. Wow.
Well, the Kiwis now advancing into the lead. They've somehow clawed back a 450-meter lead that the British had at the outset. Cast your mind back not so long ago, and they seemed stranded ahead of the start line. Now, dictating turns.
All their fairings in place, their boat obviously working. That mishap before the start, but wow. British tacking on the starboard tack. Let's see if they can return the favor.
Yeah, easy across.
Oh my goodness, the stability is not what they would like.
I think you heard Burling say easy cross, and it is. Holy mackerel, what a change of events.
Around the fifth gate. And Peter Burling and the New Zealanders seemingly recovering quite brilliantly, not just from the disadvantage they found themselves in right at the outset of this race, but from the extraordinary events of 2 days ago when their boat was turned upside down.
140.
What a leg this could be for Land Rover BAR and the British Challenge. They cannot afford any mistakes. Boat speed is good. 2 defeats, remember, and their challenge is done here in Bermuda. All that hard work will come to nothing. How the heart rate's shaping up. Well, there's no shortage of effort being put in.
Giles Scott, the tactician, clearly looking around, but those 2 guys up front, my goodness. This is not ever for a lack of effort on any of these boats. There's no doubt about that. This is really quite a turn of events. A monster lead off the starting line. A little bit of a glitch on board Emirates Team New Zealand. A 400-meter lead off the starting line. And
listen to the RBR taking us down.
a dramatic
deep mode
pass.
here. Full deep mode here. Yeah. 30 to go still.
Goodness. 320 meters. It's comfortable at this point for the New Zealanders, and we've heard them talking at some length through the course of this event how they don't panic if they get behind. They know their boat speed is good. They've been relying upon it.
30 seconds on the other tack. Sit. Ed, I suggest you stay. It'll be 35 to lay line the other way. Okay, boys, I'm happy to go here.
They're talking about their positioning on the race course. Happy to go here means happy to jibe. It's going to be a quick one, so they're telling Ed Powies actually to not even cross the boat because they'll be jibing back shortly.
30 seconds delay line.
We're not quite at the point of panic stations, but we're not too far away for Land Rover BAR. The Kiwis look like they've gone. They're stretching out for home at this point.
Up 10 here.
One more gate to navigate, and then the blast reach to the finish. Their speed is outstanding, their navigation similarly. The coolness, the composure of Peter Burling, this 26-year-old who just 2 days ago drove his hulls deep into the water and saw his boat in tatters. This is some comeback. This is some recovery from Emirates Team New Zealand. Almost 100% of the time up on the foils, and all of this after a stuttering start. They barely got going at all in the pre-start, but they have reeled the British in and they have stretched out comfortably, and they take yet another victory to move 4-1 up in the series. They're 1 race win away from a place in the Challenger playoff finals. What an effort from the Kiwis. That was magnificent.
Frankly, stunning.
Made life hard for ourselves.
You know? That was a big jump they had.
And for Sir Ben Ainsley and the British crew, a real kick in the guts. 1 race away from elimination. They've got to win the rest from here to stay in the hunt. And having held the lead all the way into the 5th leg of 7, that's going to sting.